Number 5 on this list is summoning him. Krampus, being the half goat, half demon creature that he is, wouldn't really be the type of character that you'd want showing up to your Christmas party unexpectedly. That being said though, it hasn't stopped some people from actually trying to summon him. There are a few variations on how to do this, but none are particularly proven. The whole idea of summoning Krampus in the first place got a big boost in popularity after the horror comedy movie entitled Krampus was released in 2015. Now the inciting incident in that movie is when one of the main characters, a boy named Max, rips up his letter to Santa Claus as he loses his festive spirit, and then Krampus shows up to haunt the family shortly after that. This kinda got people wondering if there was any validity to this summoning technique and if they could rip up their letter to Santa Claus to summon Krampus themselves. Well, I am here to tell you that summoning Krampus isn't quite as simple as Hollywood portrayed it to be. In fact, even though there are several potential methods circulating around the internet, there isn't one confirmed method yet. Some have said that to summon him you need to take the blood of a goat and use it in a satanic ritual where you then vandalize Christmas paraphernalia. Others have tried to completely destroy any signs of Christmas and have the worst Christmas spirit ever, basically be a Grinch. Neither of these have worked and don't seem to have any legitimacy to them though. In actuality, it seems like the only way to get Krampus to show up to your doorstep is if you've been bad all year long. And even if you have done this, there's no guarantee that he's actually going to come. It's probably a good thing that there's no confirmed method to summoning him though, because willingly bringing this guy around probably isn't the best idea. Number 4 on this list is his torture lair. Krampus is inherently evil and will beat who've been bad all year round. He's truly the antithesis to Santa Claus, who will reward good behavior with presents. The beatings that Krampus doles out can be rather brutal. Legend says that he'll carry around a bundle of sticks and that's his weapon of choice for delivering these beatings. However, there are also some stories of Krampus being far more brutal than just the sticks. That getting hit with this bundle of sticks is actually the good side of Krampus, and for those who've been really bad, you'll get far worse. The authentic legend says that on December 5th and 6th in Austria, Krampus will go around with St. Nicholas and beat who've been bad. Whilst he's doing this, St. Nicholas will be going into the good children's homes and leaving presents for their good deeds over the year. Some variations on the legend though say that Krampus doesn't just come into your home to beat you, but comes into your home to take you away. Krampus is said to have a basket strapped to his back, but this basket, it's not filled with a bunch of presents. It's actually filled with a bunch of children. Children that Krampus has kidnapped and is now taking back to his evil lair. What happens at this evil lair? That's not currently known, but there's no limit to how bad things could get. People believe that Krampus has a full-on torture chamber for the children whose souls are so bad that there's no saving them. That these bad children will be taken into this torture chamber and kept there for the rest of their lives. For most kids, Krampus is only dangerous around Christmas time, but for these unlucky souls, Krampus would be year-round. Some people say though that Krampus will just eat the here, which, as horrible as it seems, might actually be better than being kept in his torture chamber for eternity. Hopefully, none of these legends are actually true though, and have just been exaggerated as time has gone on. Number 3 on this list is that Krampus is the son of Hell. Hell, spelled H-E-L, isn't in reference to the place, but actually a person. Britannica says that Hell was originally the name of the world of the dead. It later came to mean the goddess of death. Hell was one of the children of the trickster god Loki, and her kingdom was said to lie downward and northward. It was called Niflheim, or the world of darkness, and appears to have been divided into several sections, one of which was the Nostrand, the shore of corpses. There stood a castle facing north. It was filled with the venom of serpents, in which murderers, adulterers, and perjurers suffered torment, while the dragon Nidhogg sucked the blood from their bodies. Mention is made in an early poem of the 9 worlds of Niflheim. It was said that those who fell in battle did not go to hell, but to the god Odin in Valhalla, the Hall of the Slain. So Hell is obviously a pretty powerful deity in the Norse religion, and it would make a lot of sense if Krampus is their son. That's what some people believe in regards to the half-goat, half-demon. The whole origin story of Krampus, it's pretty hazy right now, but a demon that has the strength of Krampus would most likely come from somebody like Hell. Hell is a woman though, and is portrayed as such, and therefore it kind of begs the question, why would Krampus take the appearance of a goat-like creature? There's also no mention to the father of Krampus, or if he even has one. If this was the case and Krampus was the son to hell, then potentially when he kidnaps the bad children, he's actually taking them to his mother's evil domain to live out the rest of their days there. It's not really been confirmed, so honestly guys, comment down below if you think this is possible, and if not, then what do you think Krampus's real origin story is? Number 2 on this list is the Catholic conspiracy. The legend of Krampus is said to have started in Austria many hundreds and hundreds of years ago. When it was starting, Christianity was growing very quickly and was gaining a lot of power around the world. The legend came out and obviously sort of goes against what the Bible says about Christmas time. After all, Christmas time is a time to worship Christ, not fear Krampus. Therefore, at the beginning of the legend of Krampus, the Catholic Church actually banned any mention of him and tried to snuff it out as soon as possible. Now on the surface, this looks as if the church is totally against the legend of Krampus, but some conspiracy theories have surfaced about how they may have actually started the whole thing to begin with. Krampus is believed to go after bad children who don't believe in Christmas. His punishments are brutal and can even be fatal. The best defense against Krampus is to fully buy into Christmas and be as good as possible all year long. Well, back then, fully buying into Christmas meant fully buying into the Catholic Church. The only way to stay safe from Krampus would be to go to church and be a good law-abiding citizen, and then all would be well. So when you think about it like that, it actually makes a lot of sense that this legend would have benefited the church's narrative. But if that's the case, well, why did they try to ban it? Well, the best way to make the public scared of something is if you yourself are scared of it as well. By completely banning the legend of Krampus, it actually gives the legend more power and more strength than if they just acknowledged it and then ignored it. This would have created the narrative that the church is actually scared of Krampus, and therefore, you or I should also be. It may be a little bit of a stretch, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody tried to create this legend to use it for personal gain, and the church, they may have just been the ones to do that. Number 1 on this list is his minions. One of the most known characteristics of Santa Claus are the joyous little elves that help him at the North Pole year-round. These little creatures are fun and festive helpers that make all the presents and run the whole Santa Claus operation. Considering Krampus is the antithesis of Santa Claus, some people have speculated that Krampus has these helpers as well, except they aren't kind, loving elves. In a recent video, I spoke about the Yule Lads. The Yule Lads are 13 tiny gnome-like creatures that live with Gryla, a horrible ogre-like witch who eats around Christmas time. Now it's very possible that Krampus also has some Yule Lads of his own, or something very similar working for him. Some people even believe that instead of going to the torture chamber forever, the children that Krampus has taken, they're forced to work at his lair for the rest of their lives. That their bodies change into these demon-like helpers that must worship Krampus at all times and do his bidding. What isn't really talked about too much though is what these former humans would actually be working on. Santa Claus has presents that need to be made all year long, but Krampus doesn't give out any presents, he just gives out beatings. Potentially, Krampus has some other work that needs to be done in the underworld that we don't know about, considering he would be a pretty high-ranking demon. Either way, it's very likely that he doesn't live alone and probably has a bunch of demon helpers, potentially the people he's kidnapped, working for him year-round.
Coming in at number 5, his appearance. Krampus appears in many variations throughout history, however most share some common physical characteristics. He is typically hairy, brown or black, and has the cloven hooves and horns of a goat. His long pointed tongue lolls out, and he also has fangs. Krampus almost always carries chains with him, thought to symbolize the binding of the devil by the Christian church. He thrashes the chains for dramatic effect, which are sometimes accompanied with bells of various sizes. Of more pagan origins, he carries bundles of birch branches called the rutten, which he occasionally swats children with. In some representations, the birch branches are replaced with a whip, with Krampus sometimes appearing with a sack or a basket strapped to his back. This is to cart off evil children for drowning, eating, or transport to hell. Coming in at 4, friends with Santa. Yes, this is actually very true, well as true as Krampus can be. he's not real. Originally, Krampus was a purely pagan creation, said to be the son of Hel from Norse mythology, but he got grafted onto Christian tradition as a sidekick of Saint Nicholas, similar to figures like Zwarte Piet in the Netherlands and Knut Ruprecht in Germany. Since the 17th century, Krampus and Santa have been linked, with Krampus often being Saint Nick's dark companion, with the two costumed figures traditionally visiting houses and businesses together on Krampusnacht. Coming in at number 3, December 5th belongs to Krampus. December 5th is known as Krampusnacht, when Krampus reigns. The feats of St. Nicholas is celebrated in parts of Europe on December 6th. On the preceding evening of December 5th, Krampus night, the wicked hairy devil appears on the streets to play, sometimes accompanied by St. Nicholas and sometimes on his own. Krampus will visit homes and businesses. The saint usually appears in the Eastern Rite vestments of a bishop, and he carries a golden ceremonial staff. Unlike North American versions of Santa, in these celebrations St. Nick concerns himself only with the good children, while Krampus is responsible for the bad. St. Nick dispenses gifts, while Krampus supplies coals and the rotten bundles. However, sometimes Krampus might just hit children with sticks, or even toss them into the sack or basket on his back and then throw it into the stream, or he might even take them to hell. In the real world, people will attend Krampus balls, or young men from the local Krampus group might don carved wooden masks, cowbells, chains and costumes to run through town in the Krampus run, often frightening and even beating bystanders. That is real. Real people beating real people. That's Coming in at 2, hit, push and whip. In folklore, Krampus is known to whip people with his birch bundle, but as previously stated, he is also a literal demon. As literal as he can be, once again, because he is not real. Now, according to a tourist, here's a description of the Salzburg Krampuslauf, who expected costumed fun but instead came home with welts. I quote, "The narrow streets in the old city section of Salzburg were packed with pedestrians as the Krampus stomped through. Many people were caught unaware and reacted with terror. Some would flee and try to seek refuge in a shop or restaurant, only to be pursued by a determined Krampus. With so many easy targets, we again managed to escape largely unharmed. At times we were chased, jostled and struck, but compared with the brutality we witnessed, it was obvious we had been spared the full brunt of what Krampus could muster." The writer went to 3 cities to attend Krampuslaufs and described savage beatings to people's thighs and shins, as well as Krampus chasing down and sitting on a teenager. Crazy, right? Would you dare attend Krampuslaufs? And finally, coming in at number 1, Christmas Demon. Hailing from Central European folklore, Krampus is a figure described as being half a demon who, during the Christmas season, punishes children who have misbehaved, as I stated before, in turn directly contrasting with St. Nicholas, who rewards the well-behaved with gifts. Now, the history of Krampus has been theorized as stretching back to pre-Christian Alpine traditions. In a brief article discussing the figure published in 1958, I quote, "There seems to be little doubt as to his true identity, for in no other form is the full regalia of the horned god of the witches so well preserved. The birch, apart from its phallic significance, may have a connection with the initiation rites of certain witch covens, rites which entailed binding and scourging as a form of mock death. The chains could have been introduced in a Christian attempt to bind the devil, but again, they could be a remnant of pagan initiation rites. You may often see Krampus posed harmlessly on a greeting card or reproduced in chocolates or figurines, but the Krampus we are all familiar with is the one stalking through town, laden with bells and chains, intimidating onlookers or whipping them with bundles of sticks. Krampus has persisted throughout history, and by the 17th century, Krampus had been incorporated into Christian winter celebrations by pairing Krampus with Saint Nick. Let's take a look at modern history though. In the aftermath of the 1932 election in Austria, the Krampus tradition was prohibited by the Dollfuss regime under the Fatherland's Front and the Christian Social Party. In the 1950s, the government distributed pamphlets titled "Krampus is an Evil Man." However, towards the end of the century, a popular resurgence of Krampus celebrations occurred and continues on today. Coming in at number 5, Ronwy. Ronwy, also known as Renove, is a Marquis and Great Earl of Hell, commanding 20 legions of demons. Whoa, that's quite the feat. Renove teaches art, rhetoric languages, and gives good and loyal servants the favour of friends and foes. Now this dude is straight up evil. He is often depicted as a monster wielding a staff. Not only that, but he is the taker of old souls, often coming to Earth to harvest souls of decrepit humans and animals near death. So if you're a fan of your grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, or people in general, dogs, cats, the neighbor's gerbil, perhaps don't summon this cretin into your life. Just a thought. Coming in at number 4, Kelpie. Originating in Scottish folklore, the Kelpie is the name given to the shape-shifting water spirits that inhabit the pools of Scotland. They are demons that appear as humans but also take the form of a horse. According to mythology, every lake in Scotland has a Kelpie spirit, even the Loch Ness. Some accounts state that the Kelpie have retained their hooves when appearing as humans, leading to their association with Satan. Now, some have been known to be beautiful, majestic creatures. Others are known to prey on humans. Now, these beautiful creatures will kill you, so just like werewolves, Kelpie can be killed by shooting them with a silver bullet. Coming in at number 3, Lilith. Lilith is a demon from the ancient Sumerians and is truly one of the oldest known demons of all time, and that says a lot. Now, it's highly debated where she first appeared. Some say in the Epic of Gilgamesh, yet she also appeared in Jewish texts around the same time. Lilith is often envisioned as a dangerous demon of the night, with a dangerous sexuality that spawned thousands of other demons. She is sexually wanton and steals babies in the darkness of the night. Not only that, but Lilith may be linked in part to a historically earlier class of female demons in ancient Mesopotamian religion. Coming in at number 2, Krampus. Oh, Krampus. Krampus has seemed to have garnered himself some fame over recent years, with Hollywood releasing a handful of movies about his demonic heinous acts. Popular in Germanic folklore, Krampus in essence is the polar opposite of Santa Claus. He has long horns, sharp teeth, and an obscenely large tongue. He is described as half goat, half demon, and on December 5th each year he comes for all the bad children, capturing them and taking them away from their parents forever, as opposed to his counterpart, Saint Nick, who rewards well-behaved children with gifts. And lastly, in at number 1, Lucifer. Lucifer, meaning light bearer, is the demon most well known in folklore throughout all cultures. Not only that, but he's arguably the most terrifying. In biblical tradition, Lucifer was one of the seraphim that rebelled against God and was therefore cast out of heaven and into the depths of the underworld. Now, in some cultures, Lucifer is not equal to Satan, but instead rules over Satan, whereas in other cultures, they're both one and the same. In ancient Egypt and Babylonia, there are similar demons called Satan and Zu, both of whom were cast out of heaven as well.